Let's have a return to this ongoing campaign by the so-called WASPI women. You'll remember they are the women who were born in the 1950s who say they weren't given enough notice of a change to their retirement age. Well, now the UK government says it'll reconsider its decision not to compensate them, and that could mean up to £3,000 each. So is this a major step forward or just warm words? Susie Arnott is with the WASPI group in the Borders, and Annie Potter represents women in Glasgow and Lanarkshire. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
Susie, what do you make of this?
Well, it is a major step forward. Up until yesterday, the door had been very firmly closed in our faces since last Christmas, when Liz Kendall said that they were going to give us no money. They had an apology for us, but no compensation for the way it was handled. So big change.
Yeah. Pat McFadden, who's currently Work and Pensions Secretary, said that they were going to reconsider this, but he didn't say that it absolutely meant that the compensation would follow.
That's right. That's right. So we can't make any assumptions about it. And as far as we know at the moment, we still have a judicial review coming up on the 9th and 10th of December. Although, since the government have informed the court about this, I don't know. We don't know. They're taking legal advice again. More money for legal advice for WASPI to actually find out what this means in terms of the judicial review.
Mm-hmm. And Susie there sounds cautious. What was your reaction when you heard this statement yesterday?
Similar. I'm very cautiously optimistic, I would say. It's a step in the right direction, but it's absolutely not guaranteed what is going to happen at the end of the day. Plus, as Susie said, we have the judicial review coming up 9th and 10th of December, and we're still not 100% sure if that's going to go ahead.
Well, tell us a bit about the judicial review. What was it doing?
Well, it was going to review everything that the government had put forward in a sense to refuse to compensate us on the maladministration and the injustice. So we've always felt that we had a very solid case, and we did lots and lots of information gathering and provision of evidence to prove that, we were never informed. And one of the things that they mentioned and really was very disappointing was the fact that they said that 50s born women, 90% of them knew that the state pension age was changing, and that 50s born women would never have read letters if they had received them.
That was a disgrace, wasn't it?
Susie, if you don't mind, then tell us a bit about your case and how you got involved in the campaign. Were you one of these women born in the 50s who didn't read letters?
Oh, yes. I took early retirement because of basically Michael Gove changing things in education and meaning I was going to be paid much less as a supply teacher. But I based my judgment on that I was going to be retiring anyway in a quite short time. And then, of course, came the news that it wasn't going to happen, and I had to wait till I was 66. Fortunately, my husband was still working, but for many, many women, that wasn't the case. People who are single parents or just not very well paid as a family, they have suffered immensely. And that was one of the other sad things, that the government claimed that there was no direct evidence of financial loss. Well, somebody taking retirement based on they might change in a couple of years' time and then having to wait 6 more years. Definitely there's some financial loss there.
And why do you think the government's changed its mind at this point? It said there was some new evidence had come to light that they needed to reconsider. Do you know what that evidence is?
Well, we don't really know what the evidence is. No, supposedly some kind of a survey from 2007, but we do know that there are hundreds of MPs who support us, and also a widespread support within the population. So maybe it's just public pressure, and who knows?
And what do you think?
I also suspect it's because the judicial review is looming, and yes. I feel that maybe when the judicial review took place, there was going to be a lot more evidence from WASPI women that was never ever brought to the fore.
How hopeful are you that this government decision to review this information will lead to compensation? And if so, how much do you think it might be? Because we know that various different figures have been bandied about.
That's difficult, I would say. There's no guarantee that, Pat McFadden made it quite clear yesterday that there was no guarantee that compensation would eventually be, presented to the WASPI women. But I'm a wee bit concerned. I really don't know what's going to happen. But
I would say that the Ombudsman did make a recommendation about amounts of money, and really to ignore the Ombudsman is quite a unpleasant precedent, not just for WASPI women, but also for the rest of the citizens in the country, because the Ombudsman's purpose is to protect the citizen from the government, basically.
Right. Well, I suppose we're just going to have to wait and see what this review brings us. I dare say we'll speak to you again nearer the time. Susie Arnott there in the Borders, and Anne Potter, who represents women in Glasgow and Lanarkshire. Thank you both.